Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation. Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this November 5th day. I know it's a big day around the country. But if you want to get away from that for a little while, come over here to the Real Sports Scope. We had the NFL trade deadline today. A lot of trades, not as much as I thought it would be. Nowhere near as much as I thought it would be. It was quite a bit of trades. Looks like Kansas City still in the driver's seat in the AFC. Nobody, very disappointing. For Cincinnati, not really surprised there. Buffalo, not really, somewhat more surprised than Buffalo than Kansas City. Also, I'll talk about, there was a story about, we'll go over the NFL trade deadline straight up. I'll give you my NFL Power 5. And Travis Kelce, he got into a little squirm. It was a viral video over the weekend. He apologized for breaking a guy's cell phone. I got a take on that as well. Like I said, the NFL Power 5 and more. Let's take our first and only break. Also, the college football playoff, the first actual, everything got lost in translation in the trade deadline and the actual election, everything. But the first rankings of the college football playoff came out today. I'll talk a little bit on that after the break, probably towards the end of the program. I'll go over this NFL stuff first. But let's take our first and only break. I'll be back here momentarily, and we will hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows, giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
All righty then. Okay. So let's start off with this. Since the Chiefs won last night, it did go to overtime. Nice little fight there put up by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. Kansas City, I made this note, they're still the team to beat in the AFC. I mean, just nobody did anything to combat what Kansas City done. The Ravens did pick up Tre'Davious White. He's an older player, 30-plus years old, coming off multiple injuries with the Bills. That's why the Bills went on and released him in the offseason. But nothing there from the Baltimore Ravens there. really bad matchup issues there with the Ravens. You said, well, they almost beat them in week 1. Yeah, that's, that almost counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. My dad would say that really doesn't mean anything per se. All right, playing a team like Baltimore, I do like the way they played last week, but going against the Kansas City, particularly a healthy Kansas City, and the way this team is playing right now with Xavier Worthy, and of course those 2 touchdowns scored last night by DeAndre Hopkins, and I got more to say about that here in a little while. The Ravens have done nothing really to match up with that per se. The Ravens are pretty suspect on the secondary, to say the least. The Bills, I made a comment about the Buffalo Bills. They've done nothing to really add on to the run. They're still a very good team. Very good team. You can see how much tougher it is for them to beat a Miami team when they got a healthy Tua back. I thought they almost lost that game, but they done nothing really. I thought maybe they would add maybe a linebacker somewhere. Maybe they made that move to get Preston Smith, who later went to the Pittsburgh Steelers there. So they didn't do anything here. I mentioned Tre'Davious White with Baltimore. I'm sure the Ravens were in the sweepstakes of getting a Marshawn Lattimore, which I'm going to go exactly over that here in just a second. But just going on, this my point here, that it's still Kansas City. I mean, Buffalo, they had injuries at linebacker last year, if you recall, in the playoffs. That's why I picked Kansas City, even at Buffalo. I picked them to win even at Buffalo back in the playoffs here. Cincinnati, probably the best matchup against Kansas City to knock them out, to keep them going for their 3rd straight Super Bowl. Diana Rossini said, well, yeah, baby, they are on the hunt for a defensive tackle. And I'm out of Nashville. She said that teams inquired about the defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons from Tennessee. And nothing never come about that. Nothing never come about that. They never got a defensive tackle. They got Khalif Herbert from the Bears, and I have no idea why they got Khalif Herbert. They've got Zach Moss there, and I think a guy named Chase Brown at running back. So you go buy some new dishwashing liquid for your dishes, but you have no food in the refrigerator. That's the way I see that pickup by Cincinnati. So Cincinnati done nothing. And Houston, yeah, they got a good team, but quite frankly, at 8-0, this game is going to be played in Arrowhead. CJ Stroud is a 500 quarterback on the road. Don't think they're going to have enough to go up to Kansas City and win. As of right now, maybe if a Charger team can avoid a Baltimore Ravens or avoid a Buffalo Bills, and maybe they run into a Kansas City Chiefs, they might be able to knock out, as constructed right now. I think the Chargers could knock them out of the playoffs, but nobody else has done anything to really challenge them in the AFC. Now, I didn't say NFC, but as far as the AFC right now, and it makes me think about a lot about the New England Patriots. A lot of what the Patriots were doing, it seemed like the rest of the league for a lot of those years during the Brady and Belichick years, they were just not really up to par in the AFC. Look at the East was dreadful. I mean, multiple coaches and quarterbacks with the Dolphins, the Bills. Neither one of those had a quarterback since Dan Marino and Jim Kelly. Now you got Josh Allen, actually, and that's why they've got the edge there. And occasionally a Jets team will come up and beat them. But it's more about that the teams around them are just not matching up and not really going all in to beat them. So kudos to the Chiefs. As of right now, I don't see any real threat after the trade deadline has passed, in my opinion. But let's go up to the trade deadline. And here's some notes here, okay? Overall, there's no big players moved as possible as much as rumors. I mean, there was thoughts that maybe Myles Garrett from the Cleveland Browns would get moved. Max Crosby possibly from the Las Vegas Raiders. The Browns, they've already lost their starting quarterback. They've got multiple injuries on the offensive line. They got massive cap issues with the Deshaun Watson contract. You thought maybe they would do something with Garrett. He would be a big piece to get a lot of cap room off your books and bring in a lot of salary cap space. None of that come to fruition there. None of that come to fruition with Myles Garrett. Max Crosby, there were some rumblings, maybe a Detroit Lions will go after Max Crosby, but apparently Mark Davis says, no, I want to keep Crosby here as a Raider. That never came to pass. Crosby's still with Vegas. And, of course, Tennessee sought to be sellers as well. No trades today, although Diana Rossini from The Athletic mentioned defensive players like Arden Key, speedster off the edge, Jeffrey Simmons. They got calls about Jeffrey Simmons reportedly, but him being a defensive tackle, already signed a second contract, Pro Bowl level defensive tackle. Titans quickly shut that down and said no. Sebastian Joseph Day was also mentioned today. And I told you before, I've read from another site there that Harold Landry, and that's a guy I thought that maybe they possibly should move on from. Harold Landry, edge rusher, was not moved today. So it is what it is. None of that came to fruition, you know. And as far as being out of Nashville, my guess is it looks like Tennessee got worked a little bit in the DeAndre Hopkins trade. If you all been watching, Jonathan, what's his name, Mingo, he got moved for like a 4th-round pick from the Carolina Panthers to the Dallas Cowboys. And, of course, Titans traded DeAndre Hopkins, who goes out and gets 2 touchdowns. Once he got 60 yards, 2 touchdowns last night in the second game with the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's 1 more touchdown than he had as a Tennessee Titan through 6 games. Go figure, you know. They got a 5th round that could, in air quotes, that could turn into a 4th-round pick if the Kansas City Chiefs get all the way to the Super Bowl. By judging by all the rest of the AFC sitting on their hands, I think these general managers and maybe owners had something to do with it. They just don't want to come off these draft picks, man. They really do not want to come off these draft picks and go for a win here overall, you know. So that's why I think that maybe Tennessee didn't make any moves today. We know they made some moves leading up to today. I think that there were a lot of low ball offers in for guys like Arden Key, for a Harold Landry, and Carthon said no way, I'm not going to do that. That, and like I said, there was no really big splashes today other than Marshawn Lattimore. But like I said, there was not even a 2nd-round pick dealt today. You know, I was expecting potential blockbuster. Seriously, Bryce Young didn't get traded. She threw that out there also, and so apparently that means that they're possibly thinking about it. But another way to look at it, folks, if you're one of these teams that would be sellers, you're a New England Patriots, a Tennessee Titans, your New Orleans Saints, which I'll go over that here in just a little bit. They did get some good compensation there from the Washington Commanders. If you're those teams, and Jacksonville, whoever, the reason why I think that they didn't make any more moves is because when you're trading at the trade deadline, you don't know the team's draft status. We're at the middle part of the season. I wish they would push it back even farther, possibly, you know, maybe push it back another week or two. maybe a week before Thanksgiving, right? But you don't know the team's draft status versus, what is it, the 11th or 12th of March when you start the new NFL new year. Then you know exactly where the team's draft status is, and you could possibly get better draft compensation for that particular player. That's something else to think about. But I know I hyped this up on my show, and I thought it would be a lot more movement than what it was. But I do like some of the moves that were made, and I'm going to go over them here in just a second. As soon as I get to the I've got notes and notes and notes on this trade deadline. Okay. Trade deadline. Okay. I mentioned my theory on the sellers not being sellers. Okay, let's look at Detroit. As I mentioned yesterday, I did say I think Detroit will add an edge rusher here. They're in win now mode. Okay. And I'm happy for them. I said yesterday they have reminded me of this team reminds me of the 1992 Dallas Cowboys. A very moving head coach, a charismatic head coach, very good offensive line, physical defense up front. Some people I clipped that. Some people came back at me and said, "Well, this team is not as defensively good as the Dallas Cowboys," and that's true. That's true. But they just seem to have that running game, that balance at quarterback, a coach that totally believes in this team. And you could see the unity kind of like that Cowboy team there, Chad. Okay. And yeah, you're right. Baltimore's in win now mode, and they went up and got a guy like Deontay Johnson, and then they get an agent, which I don't think they needed another receiver, in my opinion. They had Beckman. They got Zay Flowers. And that's good enough in my opinion. I mean, I don't think. I've got a few other no names. They've got Isaiah Likely, who's like a receiver, and then Mark Andrews, and Flowers is the number one. But anyways, okay. Lions. Let's get to this. So the Lions, as I said yesterday, thought they would make a move. They brought in the edge rusher here, Zadarius Smith. Here, he's from Cleveland, 32-year-old player here, still effective. Five sacks in 9 games. Cleveland got a 5th and a 6th round pick, so that was kind of like a giveaway type of, get the guys off our books, give us some more picks here. 5th and 6th round pick, but also sent back a 26 7th round picks. Lions did well considering that they're still winning despite Aiden Hutchinson. So I love what they did here, brought in that edge rusher. So now that solidifies this Lions team. They're currently, folks, sitting at the number 1 seed in the NFC, but they're only a game and a half, I want to say. No, they got a 2-game lead on Green Bay and Minnesota. And Green Bay and Minnesota are here. We are right at the midway point, chomping at their heels there. So there's not a lot of big separation there, like it would be for, say, a Kansas City. I think they're up like 3 games or 4 games in the AFC West per se. So kudos to the Lions saying, we know we can possibly get to a conference championship. We're not sure if we can beat a Philadelphia yet with this kind of pass rush, or maybe even a Washington Commander team with this kind of – we need to totally upgrade this thing, and kudos to them for doing so. You've got the quarterback in his prime. You've got a lot of good players, Jamar Gibbs, Brian Branch, second-year players. Aiden Hutchinson, although hurt, could be back, by the way, for the Super Bowl if they got to the Super Bowl. I know Adam Schefter always likes to remind everybody that. But his contract's going to come up pretty soon here the next year or so, and they're going to have to pay him a ton of money. And when you start paying guys like that, and guys like Sam Laporta, although he's having a pretty quiet season so far, the great tight end they drafted last year that had like 12, 13 touchdowns, they're already playing Amon St. Brown. They're already playing Jared Goff. So you start to look at all this stuff and that offensive line, there's some players there that are eventually going to get paid too as well. You kind of got to get ahead of this and win now, because you're going to have to start making some tough decisions and letting some good players go. Okay? But so far, so good. I like the fact that they did what they did. Okay? Washington, this is the biggest name per se. This is a bigger name, but I thought the bigger need was for Zadarius Smith with that Detroit Lion team. This is a bigger name. This is the name that I thought, Chad. This is the name that I thought, Chad, that the Ravens would go for. And my guess is they just didn't want to cough up what they coughed up, what Washington coughed up. Washington coughed up to the New Orleans Saints here. Marshawn Lattimore was traded. He was traded to this number 2 overall seed as of today. They won again last week. He was traded to the Washington Commanders. The Saints, this is from NFL.com here. The Saints shipped cornerback Marshawn Lattimore for a 2025 fifth-round pick. Lattimore and a 2025 fifth-round pick to the Commanders in exchange for, check this out, a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and a sixth-round pick in next year's draft. So they got 3 picks there. For Marshawn Lattimore, who's 28 years old. He'll have 2 more years left on his contract here. One of the better shutdown corners in the NFL. And they definitely needed to get his salary off their books down in New Orleans. But now you look at a guy like Jayden Daniels on a rookie contract. See, that's the key. He's on a rookie contract. You know already we are 8 games in? 8-9 games in? And the Commanders are looking at Jayden Daniels and saying, this guy's getting here an hour before practice. He's getting all his lifting in. He's getting all his film study in before anybody else gets here. And he is playing like a seasoned pro. So we're ready. We're going to go ahead and make this acquisition now and bring in a guy like a Lattimore, a 4-time Pro Bowler, because what they want to do is they want to match him up with A.J. Brown. Because A.J. Brown and the Eagles, that'll be coming up here in 2 weeks. That's just the first matchup. That'll be playoff game-like atmosphere. That game, if it's not already, I haven't looked at the start time, it'll probably, Chad, flexed out to prime time. That particular game, that's going to be a big game. You can, and I got, folks, make sure note this. Here in a couple of weeks, I'm going to have on the 26th, I'm going to have Mike Richmond come on. That's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I won't have a show on that Wednesday. I got some extra work to do because I need to make up for some things because I'm not going to be working Thursday. I won't have a show that Thursday, but I'll be back Friday with Mad New Yorker. But Mike Richmond's a writer from the Maryland, D.C. area. He's wrote books about this team. He's got press box access there. I'm going to ask him, what does he think? He wanted to talk about after the Dallas game. I really wanted him to talk about what does he think about this Eagles team who almost coughed up a game at the very end last week to a reeling Jacksonville Jaguars team. So the Commanders, who new general manager, and they've got a new head coach here, new everything, new ownership. That new GM and coach, they're looking and saying, okay, if we get a guy like Lattimore on this team with as good as we're playing right now and as high level, either first or second in completion percentage, yes, that's true. A freaking rookie, Jayden Daniels. Let's go ahead and buy ourselves some insurance and some job security. If we can win the NFC East in year 1, who in the bleak? I would have gave the Giants getting a guy like Brian Burns and that defensive line. I would have gave them a better shot to winning the NFC East. pending like injuries to Dak or to Jalen Hurts with the Eagles, of course. Then the Commanders, there's too much turnover there. That's too much. But who would have thought, man? That's the beauty of the NFL. I mentioned that the other day. You can go from the outhouse to the penthouse, and in certain cases, you can go from the penthouse to the outhouse. So from the outhouse to the penthouse is what Washington's went, and you can do it the other way around. Once you get players leaving like a Tom Brady and a Bill Belichick, they're number one pick status. So that was a good trade. And, of course, it was good for a team that needs multiple draft picks. I just mentioned the other day, they're going to be about $85 million over in cap space. Expect a big dump load if Mickey Loomis, going back to the Saints, if Mickey Loomis even survives the offseason, if the owner, Miss Benson, says, you know what, this guy's been here 22 years, we need to hit the reboot here. We're going to do away with this guy. Maybe I think a lot more players on that Saints team down. The guys like Cam Jordan, the defensive end or edge rusher. They've got a really good linebacker. I thought maybe somebody would go after him. None of that happened, but I think a lot of that could happen on teams that feel like they're close coming up in the offseason. Again, because teams know exactly where they're going to be drafting at. You know, they know exactly where they're going to be drafting at and what they're dealing with when they acquire these players, or in the Saints case, dump players, clean slate, and get things started from fresh here. Okay? So that one felt like a win-win. Some people might say that's with multiple draft picks like that maybe the Saints got the best end. But, you know, the way I see it, you got a Jalen Daniels on a rookie contract coming into the season. This Washington team, they had the most money in cap space. They had the most money in cap space. Tennessee was second. That's what's so sickening about this Tennessee Titans team that is woefully underachieved compared to a team like that's found a team that has found their franchise quarterback like a Washington Commanders. You can make the argument, and this is something I'm going to ask Mike Richmond coming up in a few weeks when he comes up. 2 weeks from today? What's today? The 5th. 19, 26, 12, about 3 weeks from the day. Is Jalen Daniels already the best quarterback in the NFC East? Is he got a higher ceiling than a Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott? I mean, Daniel Jones, we already know he's already better than Daniel Jones. They wanted to move on last year. But it's early, but this guy really looks that good right now. And I was totally surprised. I thought he got hurt too much in college. The little bit that I did see him, I seen him get banged up. And maybe it's still early, but, you know, I'm just judging by what I see right now. So, but overall, it was a good trade for the Commanders. It was a good trade. It's hard to find a good cornerback here, and they want him to match up with that beast coming up in a couple of weeks with A.J. Brown. Okay. The Steelers, of all teams, the Steelers made one move that I thought, keyword thought, that Buffalo should have done. They made one move that I thought Buffalo should have done. First of all, the Steelers, they got Mike Williams. I could take that or leave it. That's a wide receiver from the Jets. Got him for a 5th-round pick. He'll line up beside George Pickens there. And then, you know, Russell Wilson will have Freiermuth to throw to there as well. They've been playing some pretty good football here lately. But what I really like about what they did is towards the very end of the trade deadline coming up at the last minute, they got 32-year-old Preston Smith, edge rusher linebacker from Green Bay. And a 7th rounder for him. So I guess he didn't fit the new scheme in Green Bay or whatever. Green Bay's got a lot of young, talented players. I guess they felt like they were okay. I know they got smoked last week. Detroit's is playing excellent football. But this guy, 2.5 sacks last year, really quick. So this adds to a defense here on the Pittsburgh Steelers team. That, remember, they added Patrick Queen, very good linebacker out of Baltimore there. They got Preston Smith, T.J. Watt, Michael Fitzpatrick there, Cameron Hayward over the middle. This is the best their defense has looked in quite a few years, to be honest with you. And you got all that balance there with the run-pass game with Russell Wilson. And, you know, I've had Ralph Williams, who does radio and podcast up in the north, in the Pittsburgh area. And he was telling me that Mike Tomlin signed that 3-year deal because he's going to retire. That'll put him at 20 years. So right now he's probably pushing management. Hey, we got a good team. We got an older quarterback here. We got him on a 1-year deal. We're only paying him $1 million in Russell Wilson. And then we've got this backup quarterback here who's on a rookie contract still, and Justin Fields. Let's go ahead and go all in here and add a Mike Williams and add a Preston Smith there as an edge rusher here. We still got a shot here. What he's looking at it. We still got a shot here to beat this Baltimore team and maybe push a Kansas City and get to the Super Bowl. Right now, the defense is there. This is what they need from defense. I don't know how long that they can keep Russell Wilson. I don't know how long they can keep him healthy. You know, I know he gets banged up. He hits his hand on people's helmets and stuff. I mean, I know Matt Stafford does that a lot. But right now with Arthur Smith here, that's a good little combo coming up. And again, they also had another big game coming up here in a few weeks. I want to say on the 17th as well against the Ravens. That's going to be a really good matchup here. I would actually take Pittsburgh in the matchup head-to-head right now just because Pittsburgh simply matches up better with the Baltimore Ravens. But the Steelers, I really like that pickup there. I really like that pickup from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Thought about bringing Ralph on today, but I know he's busy, and I knew it was last minute here talking about that. A lot of people didn't want to come on because it is election night, but I just really wanted to get into this NFL trade deadline. I thought they would have more to it, but there are some good trades here. And these are more trades than we've had in the past. Now, we've had bigger trades in the past. Von Miller going to the Rams and stuff like that. But I don't think we've had this kind of volume. And I do think that eventually this is going to get more and more and more. But I just think these general managers, owners, they really hoard those draft picks in the NFL. Okay, let me see. Trade deadline. So So basically, that's it in a nutshell as far as the trade deadline. Again, thought it would be more, but it wasn't. It really wasn't. And I think that you see teams, they wanted to gauge teams like Tennessee. They wanted to gauge your Jacksonvilles and see if you're willing to give out players just to do a salary dump rather than and get cheap on the draft picks, you know. But like I said, Donna Rossini was saying, yeah, Titans got a call about Jeffrey Simmons, and the team said no. Well, I would at least listened. I would at least listen to what people had to say if I'm the Ran Carthon with Jeffrey Simmons, because Gervonta Sweat, the other tackle they drafted in the second round, is playing well. Now, if you want to give me a first-round pick and multiple other picks, a 3 or 4, a first, a third, and maybe another second in 2026, and maybe a fourth, 3 to 4 picks like that in the top 1 to 150, yeah, sure, I would maybe listen to that per se, you know, and not to pound this guy Carthon too much in the ground. You can also look at the fact that Tennessee got L'Jarius Sneed. As bad as Tennessee's been, they've got the best pass defense in the NFL. They got the best pass, and Tennessee got him for a third-round pick. And I just mentioned Lattimore here. They gave up multiple picks here, 4 picks here. Washington gave up for Lattimore. So I guess in a sense that maybe Carthon was saying, okay, maybe I'm cutting Brett Veach some slack on this trade because he kind of cut me some slack on the L'Jarius Sneed trade with a third-round pick for a starting corner. Okay, so maybe they should have held out till I would have held out till today before I would dealt Hopkins. That's just me. I would have held out till today because it looks like they got worked, even though, like I just mentioned, maybe it's a makeup to kind of even it out on the other trade there. But each trade should have its own lifeline. You shouldn't have to feel like you have to do that. I don't know if that's true. That's just me speculating. Let me take a sip of water. I've been motor mouthing here. Oh, man. I think everybody's got some kind of cold or allergies here. I think the pollen's up here in the Nashville area. Okay. Quick story here. I'll stay in the NFL, and then we'll talk a little bit of the college playoff that just came out. Jason Kelce. Now, I've watched Kelce. He apologized. I saw him on game day. Looked like he was chugging a beer when they were about to bring him up. In the ESPN's game day had him. They were at Penn State University campus here. I guess because since he played for the Eagles, they wanted to bring him down to the Penn State game. And somehow, between being on game day and whatnot, him walking around in this parking lot at Penn State, there's a video. TMZ's got it. I've seen multiple angles from this video of this guy following Jason Kelce and a group of kids, college-age students here, or college age. I don't know if they went to Penn State. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. But it said Penn State fan calling, said, hey, your brother, and it used the article said gay slur for dating Taylor Swift, and he's following him and trying to get him on his phone. And Kelce here really overreacts. He just should have said, man, that's his business, and whatever, dude. Whatever, man. You know, have a good day. And instead, he grabs the guy's phone, slams it down on the ground, and crushes the phone here. That was Saturday. That video kind of went viral Saturday somewhat. And then Monday, he apologizes on NFL Countdown. He apologized. He said, I shouldn't respond to hate with hate or whatever. And, I tell you what, man. And also this story came out about it, if I can find it. Maybe I didn't screenshot it, but apparently the police are looking into that video of trashing that guy. Penn State police looking into that video of him trashing this guy's phone like this. But going back to Kelce, I've watched this. There's an Amazon documentary on the Kelce brothers. Now, this didn't come out this year. I think it came out, well, I know it did. It came out last year. It was the year after they the Kelce brothers went into the Super Bowl. And it picks up there, and the mom is split there. Travis wins it and all that. And it shows Jason Kelce. He's wanting to look into, he was debating whether to come back and play or not. And he got in these businesses, and it looks like he just wasn't happy with it. And he was just working on his podcast, which now they've got a big contract for, with his brother. And quite frankly, I mean, I've tried to listen to it. It's awful. It's awful. I mean, it goes to show you, if you just got a big name in their situation, as popular as NFL is, and the fact that he's that Travis is dating Taylor Swift, it's going to get a lot of people watching per se. But I understood it's terrible. But hey, the people who pay them that money, they don't care if it's chewing gum and spitting gum out and seeing how far you can throw the gum. As long as you got a lot of people watching it, it don't matter for whatever reason. So, but he seems lost. This guy, Jason Kelce, and I kind of feel bad for him, multimillionaire. He's got that struggle where, you know, he played 13 years in NFL. He's one of the greatest centers of all time. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And then he played at, I want to say he also played at University of Cincinnati where Travis did too, you know. And when you are used to living that life for 15, 17 years or whatever, that don't count high school, and you've got that itinerary set out for you, you've got that camaraderie with the guys, you're used to being at a certain place at a certain time. And the old adage is idle mind's a devil's workshop. He looks like he is just a little bit antsy right now, you know, and I think that guy needs to get come up, find out something else to do with his time and something he likes to do to take care of that void in time. And I'm sure his wife's going to help him with this too. Maybe she finds some stuff for him to do. I don't know. They got 2 little kids, but he's going to have to. He's real antsy right now. He's real antsy right now, and he's still kind of in that party mode too, where he likes being around the crowd of guys and everything going crazy. So that's something that that he should look into per se. I know that seems like a deeper analysis of Jason Kelce, but if he continues to get in trouble like this, these good TV jobs and podcast stuff, that's going to dry up if he gets in a lot of trouble. So this is not going to be that big a deal, but this is kind of a warning sign of what to become here. Hopefully his mom will hear this and maybe she'll say something to Jason. Say, hey, listen, man, let's have a talk here. Let's deal with your schedule here. Because you see it a lot, you know, with former players here. They're used to having everything planned out, and then you got that extra time on your hand, you get a little antsy, and then you start picking up some bad habits per se. You know, I read about it all the time with players dying young, and you know, some of them, if they're football players, you blame it on CTE or whatever. Others, it's just guys with too much time on their hand and money, and they're getting in trouble. So I took a lot of that out of that, because he should have just blew that young guy off and kept on going his own way and doing his own thing. Similar thing happened with Joel Embiid. We'll say he's still playing. He shoved a guy, a columnist down at the Sharp Sharamia. He's with ESPN now. He used to be with Athletics. Says NBA has suspended Philadelphia 76er Joel Embiid for 3 games for altercation shoving a columnist in a post-game locker room. You know, another idiotic thing to do. Now, I think it was something, a personal question he asked or whatever, and Embiid overreacted, and now they suspended Embiid for 3 games without pay. So these guys you really got to watch your cool in the public eye. I think it was I forgot who it was that said this. He was on the Bulls team. God, I can see the guy's face, man. Dennis Rodman says, I love playing the basketball part. That's great. It's dealing with you all on the public of the NBA. That's the hard part, you know, being in the spotlight like that, you know, kind of made me think about him, Dennis Rodman, when he kicked that cameraman. He got $250,000 settlement out of that and got suspended for that. This was back in the 90s with the Chicago Bulls. I remember the day that happened. I was watching the games that night. Okay, a few more minutes here. The first college football playoff ranking has came out tonight. There's a good chance I may not have a show tomorrow because I'm going to be out late watching the election stuff. And plus, the weather could hold me over from work tomorrow as well. But anyways, nothing really surprising. You got Ohio State at number 2 over Georgia. Of course, Ohio State did beat Penn State. Called that pretty close on my prediction on that game. You've got Oregon at number 1. Very impressed. I was watching Oregon. I recorded the Oregon game and watched a little bit, even though they played a bad Michigan team. I like the way they played on the road. I really do. That was pretty impressive game. Dylan Graber, great throw there. Now, that first touchdown should have been called back, but it wasn't. It was still a really good throw in the first quarter there to get them off to an early start. Ohio State's 2, Georgia's 3, Miami's up to 4. That's Cam Ward. He's going to be a pretty high draft pick. How high, we don't know. Followed by Texas at 5. Penn State just lost now. They lost to Ohio State. Now, Tennessee stuck at 7. They were at 7 in the AP. I think the problem that the voters have with a team like Tennessee is they get off to so many bad starts, and their defense just saves them time and time again. What did they miss? Three field goals against Kentucky. Slow starts. They got off to 7, fell behind 7-0 early to a team like Kentucky. Of course, they came back and won just like they did against Alabama. But this true freshman, or this redshirt freshman quarterback, Nico, shows some really good flashes at times, and then other times he turns the ball over. And I know this, that Dylan Sampson, the running back who's got the record for, I think, rushing touchdowns or something like that for Tennessee, he also fumbled the ball. So their issues, a lot of turnovers. Maybe that's why they're stuck at 7. They should be closer to 5, in my opinion. But, hey, Miami's undefeated. Miami's undefeated there. And Georgia got a big win at Texas. Now, of course, Georgia. Wow, I watched Georgia also when I was preparing for the program. And I watched them play Florida. And Carson Beck, 2 back-to-back picks. That is 6 interceptions, I want to say, in the last, 3 games for him now? I'm just not sure if Carson Beck is even going to go on. Carson Beck, the quarterback here for Georgia, we know they won barely. They barely covered against I don't even think they covered, actually. I think it was 14.5. They won 14 against Florida. And he looks a lot like Tennessee's Will Levis. Levis got the strut, got the frame, got the arm strength. But if you go back and watch Will Levis the last year at Kentucky, he was not bad, terrible at times. And Tennessee was not that good. Now, this year's Tennessee's team is very good defensively. Maybe Tennessee can go down there and beat Georgia down there. Right now, I don't think they can because Tennessee turns the ball over a lot too. They're not that good on the road. If this were in Knoxville, maybe I would lean Tennessee. Now, this game's coming up. I'm not making a prediction per se. I'm just saying that Carson Beck, if he's got another year of eligibility, maybe, just maybe, he should come back. That dude should come back. Because right now, I'm putting Cam Ward above him. I'm putting Schroeder Sanders with Colorado above him. At the beginning of the season, he was considered the number 1 quarterback, according to Mel Kiper, and some other draft boards too as well, not just Mel Kiper. So, and then you got teams like Indiana. I don't know how Indiana. They're 8th. They haven't lost yet. A lot of the traditional Big Ten is down this year. Michigan State, those teams are down this year. They haven't played Oregon yet. They haven't played Ohio State yet. Then you've got BYU, which I don't know of anybody big they've beaten. And then you got Notre Dame. That's your top 10. 11 would be Alabama, and Boise with this running back out of Boise, who is supposedly this all-world guy who could potentially go early in the draft, and he is a Heisman Trophy candidate. Him and Travis Hunter, which I think Travis is probably going to get it. Travis Hunter here is going to get it. So that would round out your top 12. So I want to say those top, four? Those top 4 seeds would get that 1 seed, if I'm not mistaken, maybe the top 5. And then the rest of them, I think it would be the top 4 because that wouldn't make any sense. It would be the top 4. They would get that bye week. So everybody else would have to play each other, which would be pretty interesting. You know, you would have a team like Texas would host a Boise State, and Alabama would play at Penn State, and Tennessee, I want to say, would host a Boise. Didn't I say Boise already? Tennessee would host like maybe a Notre Dame. I think I predicted that in the offseason. This is just 1 week, though. I'm not going to get too caught up into that. And for a side note, Colorado is number 20 if in the playoff. Now, I don't know if that's going to last. Ole Miss is 15th. Texas A&M. Now, I didn't see that. I tell you, folks, A&M playing like world beaters, you know, the last couple of weeks against LSU and against who else did they beat? Well, that LSU game was good enough. They beat them like 38 points or something like that. And then they go on the road to South Carolina and get handled. I mean, that's the SEC for you. That's the SEC that I know. I still think somebody will probably get Oregon, and it'll probably happen in the championship game. But Oregon's ranked so high. This is about how I predicted this to play out, really. If you go back and I didn't know about BYU, I thought Clemson would be a little bit better. I know they got beat. But a lot of these teams I didn't mention. I mentioned Texas. I mentioned Miami. A lot of people weren't sold on Miami. I did mention Florida State. Who saw Florida State falling off a cliff? I know I didn't see Florida State falling off a cliff this bad. I mean, everybody missed on Florida State. But it's a big win. Was it Louisville last week that beat up on Clemson? So, but, you know, teams like LSU, they're 15th. They're technically still in it. I'm saying all this to say 2-win team get in, a 2-loss team can possibly get in. A 3-loss team from the SEC, if they got a tough enough schedule, they could possibly get in. You know, get into this playoff. So this is going to be really interesting as the season goes along from here on out. I guess we'll be getting it. It's kind of like the BCS, except you're going down 12 instead of going down the top 5 to see who all can get in the top 2 or so. As far as tomorrow, folks, again, I do not know if I'm going to be on the air or not. It just depends on how late I'm going to be up tonight. A lot of stuff going on here. But I will be, if not, I will air one of my better programs where I've had, you know, one of my better interviews per se. So make sure and tune in for that. But I'm still may be on tomorrow. It just depends on what comes about. Like the big story breaks and I've got time, I'll go ahead and pop on and get it. Also, but Thursday, Jeffrey Deskovic will be on. We'll get into some round ball talk, you know. Jeffrey's a really big NBA guy. I'll touch on some more NFL stuff that I have not touched on leading up to the program throughout this week here. But I'll have him on. We'll go over the Knicks. I'll get his predictions of what's going to happen in the NBA and NBA Finals. Love talking to Jeffrey about all that stuff. So either way, you will see me back on the program at some time definitely be on Thursday, maybe on Wednesday, and of course Friday. Of course, I have the Mad New Yorker. We'll go over everything. And as usual, there's some big NFL games this weekend we'll go over and talk about as well. So have a good night, everybody. I'll see you either tomorrow or Thursday, but always tune in tomorrow. There'll always be a Sports Scope on. Same time, same place here on the Real Sports Scope. Have a good night, folks.